Hello, Happy New Year, and welcome back to Not Without My Sister, where today I, Rosemary McCabe, and my sister, Beatrice McCabe, are going to talk about, quite aptly, and I think you'll agree, very surprisingly and out of left field, our goals and aspirations for 2023.
I was delighted, Rosemary. Hello, everybody. Hello, everybody. Happy 2023. Thank you, Rosemary, for that oh so professional introduction. Sounded very much like a weather forecaster. I was very impressed. Rosemary, I was very impressed this morning. I think 2023 is already off to a good start, and it's only 10:34 a.m. on January 1st, 2023.
What were you impressed by? Spit it out.
I was delighted this morning when I said, Rosemary, will you make me a cup of tea because you're standing? And you were sitting in your chair looking askance at me. And I thought to myself, and then you jumped up and made me the tea like the best sister in the world. And I was like, oh my God, I just manifested that into being. By saying it, I made it so.
You do not believe in manifestation, do you?
I do now. I was absolutely delighted with myself.
It was actually so annoying. And what was more annoying was you said, while you're standing, will you make me another cup of tea, right? And you had your almost empty cup in your hand. And when I stood up, you then began to suck the last drops. And I was like, give me the fucking cup. Like, so annoying.
Oh, it was so nice of you. I mean, honestly, once I said that and you looked so pissed off with me, I was like, she's never going to make me this tea now. And you did. It was so nice.
Sorry. When have I ever not made you a cup of tea you've asked for?
It is great act of service. That is a true love language of both of ours. And I blame Mom for wanting cups of tea on a 5-minute basis. What do you think Mom and Dad are doing in Ireland on New Year's Day? What goals do you think they have for the year?
Oh my God, I asked them yesterday. We don't do that.
What?
Yeah, I said, what are your New Year's resolutions? We don't do that.
They don't
Is
do
what
New
Dad
Year's
said.
Eve either. They don't do anything. They just...
No, they used to go to Ted's
Did
for
they?
New Year's Eve.
No,
Yeah,
that only
a couple
happened
of years in a
after
row.
we left home. That only happened later in life.
No, because I was forced to go as well.
Yeah, but when we were growing up, there was no celebration. There was nothing. What are we going to do on New Year's Eve? That's nonsense. Right? Nonsense. And I mean, I realised I should have asked my own kids what they wanted to do last night because we did nothing and I was in bed and I was like feeling sorry for them afterwards, going, they probably imagine that like there are all types of shenanigans happening. I should have let them stay up till midnight, had a glass of champagne and gone to bed.
Oh God, do you remember when I used to read, well, do you remember when we used to read like 17 magazine or More or
Never
Bliss
read
and all?
that. Oh, More, I read More. Yeah.
You know, like just like teenage girls' magazines, and they'd be talking about your New Year's Eve outfit. I literally imagined that everybody in the world was going to fancy New Year's Eve parties, except me. Oh my God, there was an episode of The OC where Marissa goes to a New Year's Eve party in the guy that turns out to be like a weird stalker, I can't remember his name, Charlie, in his like, penthouse in some hotel. And at midnight, all this confetti starts falling from the ceiling. And I literally was like, when I grow up, I mean, I was probably about 27 watching this, but I was like, when I grow up, that's the New Year's Eve party I want to go to.
Well,
And it never happened.
You make a good point though there, because I bought a couple of things, including an off-the-shoulder dress, which I was planning to wear for Christmas Day. And then, I mean, obviously the practicalities of life have gotten to me. I was like, as if I get turkey on this dress, I'll be mad, right?
You put it on you though, didn't you, on Christmas morning?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and then took it off.
I put it on to try it on, to see if it fit me, see if I would have to send it back. Then I was like, I'll wear it on New Year's Eve. Where did I think I was going? I should do a Busy Phillips and just get dressed up for the sake of it. I mean, I actually do that like sometimes, but the one shoulder dress felt particularly stupid, especially because the house is freezing cold, right? Not right now, but like it has been up until now. It's warmer now with us all being here every day over the holidays. But I also have been desperately trying to buy a pair of sequin boots from H&M that are out of stock since the first time I laid eyes on them. Very, very beautiful. Two-way sequin. I'm sure they're incredibly cheap looking in person, but that's fine. But dying to buy these shoes. And then yesterday I was like, well, it's January 1st now. I don't need those sequin boots anymore. What? This is seasonal dressing.
Sequins, I mean, they're like...
Year round for sequin.
Well, sequins are, yeah, I mean, I agree with you, right? But I do think that marketing has done a great job of making us think that sequins are for Christmas. Do you know what I mean? So
marketing
like, come
has done
Christmas,
a great job of, in general, like telling us like what things are festive appropriate. Like somebody said in work a while ago, somebody said like, we were talking about navy or black for an accessory for the holiday time period, right? And there was a whole conversation around the room of like, well, this is the highbrow. Sometimes I go, geez, this is great. Like these are the conversations I have at work, right? For work, not like at the water cooler, but for actual, this is my actual job. So it was like, well, would you wear a navy, would you wear black? There was a lot of, hot debate, 'cause the navy did look really chic, and like loads of people were like hot on the navy. And then somebody goes, okay, you're going to a holiday party. How many of you are wearing a navy dress? 0 hands go up. How many of you are wearing a black dress? All the hands went up.
Interesting.
It was interesting when you think about it that way, like away from, because very often we make kind of these choices based on like, oh, it looks amazing, it looks great. But then you go, but practically, what is the customer like? What is anybody?
The average person,
going to actually want? Like you kind of go, I'm going to wear something black, or I might think about something red. But generally, navy like feels sort of more businessy and a little bit more preppy, and not like holiday festive. But you're right, it's all marketing.
I don't think I own any black dresses. I know I own one actually kind of like mid-length muumuu from H&M.
I was about to say all of mine are like shapeless shapes.
Yeah,
I mean either, but you could say that for most of what I wear, in fairness.
Do you have any goals for 2023? More importantly,
I do. I'm going to take the 2 Vera Bradley blankets off of my rower and actually get back onto it. Right. So that's one thing. I told you already. I made this joke already, and it's not even a joke. I asked Don to put a bow back on it and re-gift it to me on Christmas Day.
Did he?
No, he didn't. He didn't, and he
didn't even take the blankets off.
He didn't take the blankets off it, and now he's set up the room humidifier was on it, and up until yesterday, I was like, Don, that's actually teetering precariously, full of water, on the edge of my rower. And like at some point some kid's going to come along, knock that off. And
I'm surprised they haven't already.
I know. Not only will there be water everywhere, but my rower will no longer work, and then I will imagine I would have been on it all the time. And then I also thought maybe I'll get back on the Peloton, right? Because when Brandon got those shoes, I was kind of like, maybe I should get in the Peloton. But then he came over and said his bum was killing him. And I was reminded, it's agony.
Sorry, his bum was killing him. And what arrived from Amazon the next morning?
Oh yeah, we have them too. Those
pair of padded shorts. And I said to him, sorry, Brandon, what am I? Did you think of? And he goes, I presumed you would have already had a pair.
Yeah, 100%. You have the padding on your bum.
Pair. You
I'd say it's sore for men, because Don was complaining as well. You know what? Is it sore for men, or are men just bigger complainers?
Bigger complainers. Way bigger complainers.
Bonier bums or bigger complainers? We'd have listeners, please vote.
Bony bums or big complainers?
Yeah, or both.
Which category do you fit into?
Can it be both? Okay, so what are your goals? And we'll get back to me in a minute.
Well, yeah, speaking of the Peloton, I did sign up to a whole load of Peloton. So at the end of the year, they go like Peloton 2023 challenges. So I signed up to a load of them. One of them was like a ride a day in January, right? So I've signed up to that. Allegedly, I'm doing a ride a day in January.
You're going to do one today? That's a good idea. I'm sure you will.
I've washed my hair now.
But you also, I'm worried about your ankle quite genuinely, because you did make that promise to me that you're going to stay sitting.
I'm going to stay sitting. I'm going to do recovery rides, beginners rides, and sweat steady in the saddle rides.
Oh, that's a good one.
Which you can do.
I didn't even know they exist. I should just do the same thing you do, because I have no interest in standing. Remember that one time I stood up on the Peloton, honestly, and I number one was so afraid standing up. I've always had a terrible fear of standing up on bikes. I've never been able to do it on actual bikes.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Thanks, Rosemary.
Sorry.
For looking so pityingly at me all of a sudden. But I stood up on it and I did like a couple of cycles. I totally lost my rhythm as well, because I was so much slower than they are. Because they're still whizzing around on it.
I know.
And then, no, you don't know. I was telling Brandon about during the pandemic, when I was down in the basement, you were in the basement opposite me, and you'd come down of a morning when I was on a phone call, you'd come down and you'd get on the Peloton and you'd do 30 minutes, and I'd be like, it must be finished now. And then you'd continue to 45 minutes, and I'd be like, oh my God, she's like heroic. And then you'd be literally like bright red, whatever. And then you'd go and plug in another 20 minutes, and then a 15-minute, and then you'd be basically there for an hour and a half. And I was like, this is, because I honestly, genuinely, that's part of my problem. I genuinely don't believe that I can actually do this. I genuinely have no mental confidence that I can get through it.
Well, you know that saying, fitness people say this all the time, you can do anything for 60 seconds. And every time they say it, I'm like, could you stand on hot coals?
Maybe. I actually think that would probably be easier, honestly. Can I walk? Can I move on the hot coals, or do I have to stay still?
Oh, no, stand still. Could you stand still on hot coals?
I could.
For 60 seconds.
Of course I could. My feet be burnt to a crisp, but I could still stand on them.
Yeah.
What about the time Don came downstairs and thought there was damage to the floorboards?
Literally, the two of you were there, and there must be a leak. It was just my sweat staining your floor.
Mold all over the floor, but not even staining. I've never seen the likes of it. It's like that Dulux dog from those ads years ago when they got wet and shook their hair. The whole place drenched.
It is, though. I actually think that's only since, I think my theory is I don't remember sweating that much until I did Bikram. And I started doing Bikram, and I did about 2 or 3 months of Bikram where I went like 5 days a week with my friend Dina, and we went every morning at like 6:30 a.m. Right. And ever since then, I swear to God, I sweat more. it broke my sweat glands going to Bikram every morning. And now I sweat my knees, like I sweat from my kneecaps. I sweat like do you remember that picture I sent you of the sweat popping out of my arms?
I honestly thought that was a joke. You're the only person I know who actually sweats like an orange. Where like the whole just true. You probably have that picture. You should post it.
I don't know. I don't know
Actually
where it
terrifying.
is.
Like
Yeah, I have to
that was
find
the
it.
time you got pulled over by the policeman. As
No,
well.
no, it wasn't. It was the time the
I'm saying
car.
you also sent me the same picture when you got pulled over by the policeman, and you had those same
Yeah, I know.
perfect
Panic
but, like,
sweat.
perfect globules of liquid all over your arm, like just popping
Globules,
out of each one of your
disgusting.
pores. Yeah.
Anyway, yeah. So one of my goals is to sweat more, basically. So to get on the Peloton a bit more. But I'm also, you know what? And I was kind of talking about this the other day. I think I wrote about it on my Instagram. I'm really trying to do it in a way that isn't like self-loathing and like get up there, you big lump of shit. Because you know sometimes no, but you know sometimes I'm like if I set a goal to exercise or something and then I don't do it, I'm like, oh, you should be ashamed of yourself. You're like you're so lazy. You're
Oh,
so
yeah,
this. So I'm
yeah.
trying to
No, I'm
trying to
over
do
that.
it from a place of love and of move your body and you'll feel better and you deserve to take this time for yourself. Blah blah blah. Maybe I am into positivity now. I sounded very positive there.
You've always been very positive. You've always been into lots of positivity, but highly cynical on the back end of it. But I agree with you. I'm not doing any of this like I'm starting a diet or I'm going on this. I'm just not doing any of that. I don't even care. Like I'll figure it out when I figure it out. I can't start the year in a negative headspace of
Yeah.
you're not good enough. You know what I mean? I can't. And I also feel like that's not actually what I care the most about this year. Like my goals this year
Go on.
are to sleep more, or to get
That's-
into a better sleep pattern,
That's a valuable,
or
important
to
goal.
read more and watch less television, because I watch a lot of television. Mainly because I'm like, oh, I'll switch off now and watch a stupid TV show. But also, I mean, I enjoy watching television. And
But also, I feel like especially when you're in bed and you're sharing a room with your partner, it's easier to watch TV with your headphones on than it is to read a book because you have to turn on the light to read a book.
I don't put the headphones on.
You're such an arsehole.
Having a laugh. I
Poor
turn
Dawn.
the volume all the way down and put on the subtitles.
Oh yeah, well then that
Why would
counts.
lying in bed with the headphones sounds so unrelaxing. Also, you'll be surprised to hear, I hate the claustrophobia of headphones. So no
Even
thanks.
little earbuds.
No, earbuds in particular. I'll wear the big ones, but I can't wear them in bed. That wouldn't be sexy in my negligee with the big earbuds on.
Your negligee, your wee willy winky gown. Listen,
I gave
lest
that
anyone.
away.
Did you?
Yes.
Oh, it was cute though.
You did not make me feel cute.
I've been no, it wasn't cute. I've been looking out for a little matching hat.
Well, good for you to know that it's gone. I'm interested in keeping a diary this year.
Oh,
That's
I'm actually going to try and start journaling because
Well-
I've been having a lot of thoughts that I feel like I need to get out onto paper.
Oh, no, well, you know what I was thinking though, back to the like watching TV or reading a book. The other night I was like, Dawn, it's really hard to read here because the light isn't good enough. Blah, blah. And I was like, get a fucking lamp. Now, I do have a wall light, you see.
A sconce.
Yeah, but I can't see properly with it. So I'm squinting
I
at my
know.
book. So
My
it's
sconce is
unenjoyable.
actually crap. And also, every time I angle it towards my book, it very slowly angles back down.
So
And then
you
I
have,
find
like,
that I
5
can't read
minutes.
it.
It's like,
Yeah, I have one chapter.
So I want to I was like, I'm going to set myself up for success instead of like not changing anything and expecting a different outcome, you know? I'm going to put a lamp beside my bed. I've put all the books up that I want to read. I have my journal beside my bed. But I'm doing more of I read this thing, was it in the New York Times? I think, was it, or was it? I can't remember.
One of
The
these days, it's
Financial
going to be
Times.
revealed that every single reference you've made is from the Daily Mail.
I
I'd
mean-
love that. Was it in the New York Times or the Financial Times? It was in the sidebar of shame.
I mean, can you imagine? I mean, I wouldn't be too surprised. I do read e-online regularly, but like it doesn't change frequently enough for my liking. You know, it's like same old crap, and nothing's
know.
interesting either.
I know.
Actually, literally nothing's interesting unless somebody's died. So, anyway, I was reading this article. Oh, yeah, this guy it was interesting. This journalist said that his his cousin was going through their mutual grandparents' house and they were selling it. And like they all lived in different states. And he came across a trove of diaries from the 1920s, I think it was, sometime around the Great Depression, right? And even in there was the day that, like, whatever it's called, like Black Tuesday or Black Monday, whatever, sorry, like for the lack of accuracy here, but you know, when the stock market crashed and everything. And so he sent a couple of diaries to the author, and he sent a couple of diaries then like around to the other cousins, etc. And within this diary, it was just more like, oh, sunny day, went to the market, you know, not like, not a ton of feelings, but it was the grandfather kind of journaling. 3 eggs, how many eggs the chicken laid, right? But what he thought was really interesting, what was interesting, I thought, was that on these kind of monumental days of history, to this individual
Oh,
person
yeah.
living through it. It wasn't commented upon as this has happened. This, you don't know it when you're living through it. It's only in hindsight that you look back and go, these were those pivotal moments.
Yeah, but they also probably didn't know. So, like nowadays, we'd know immediately because you'd see a news bulletin, whereas they wouldn't have known immediately what
But
had
even
happened.
so, he kind of talked. There wasn't a ton of commentary on shortages of this and
Yeah,
shortages
yeah.
of that, and like
It wasn't an immediate
yeah,
ricochet effect kind of thing.
yeah, and I mean, and he also did speak about how the grandfather was potentially slightly insulated because he was a construction he owned a construction business or ran a construction business and had a lot of wealthy clients and was in a tourist enclave also, so therefore there were always people coming to this area. It wasn't like building dried up because it was just regular laborers looking for houses. It was still a lot of very wealthy people looking to have their holiday homes built for them, etc. But it made me think about the alleged impending recession or whatever, the last couple of years, and kind of going, what are those major moments that we'll look back on and go, that was that inflection point in history where we did or didn't do something. And in our own lives, those were those inflection points where you make choices that you live with or that you look back on, recognize as monumental. Like I look back on my life and think that my choice to go to Italy, I thought was a short-term 3-month choice, turned out to be a decision, a pathway to never.
Yeah, a stepping stone to.
Yes, to never going back to Ireland potentially.
Yeah,
or certainly never going back for 25 years or 20 years, And had I known that, would I have gone? Don't know, right? I think it would have been a very freakishly heavy decision to make,
Yeah. I mean, like to that point, I think if I had known, even with COVID and everything, if I had known when I moved over here that I wouldn't be able to go home for a year and a half, or if, even like if I'd known that I would never be able to bring Quillon over, if I'd known that all these things, I probably wouldn't have come.
Yeah.
But I'm glad I did.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I'm not sorry with where I ended up at all. Like I would never have married Brandon. I wouldn't have had Atlas. I wouldn't, all these incredible things. But so it's actually better that I'm not clairvoyant.
Yeah, we aren't.
For many reasons.
Well, I can't remember the point I was making with that, but
about keeping a diary.
Oh, that was exactly right. But I thought that was really interesting also for the generations to come, and I was like, maybe I'll make mine a little bit more interesting, 4 eggs, 8 eggs. But I think you gave it to me last year, a 5-year diary. And it's just got a very small section. Like it doesn't have an intimidating full page or anything. And I'm sure if you want to write more, you can, because I'm sure I won't hit every day. But it's just more like, here's where I was. It's like 3 or 4 lines per day. I'm like, I can manage that.
That is quite nice, yeah.
Because anything more, I start to get overwhelmed. And a friend of mine actually kept a similar diary throughout, and it ended up being through COVID. And she said the first year was pre-COVID, and she was like, she could see her own positivity and her own kind of mental wellness dip and rise, and with the kind of there's a vaccine, there's no vaccine, the vaccine's coming, it's not coming, we're coming out of it, we're not coming out of it, and it was interesting for her because they on the each page has 5 years, so you can read what happened exactly on March the 3rd for 5 sequential years, so it was kind of interesting.
My journaling is not going to be like that. I just want to write down all the basically negative thoughts that I'm having and try and get them out of my brain.
Oh.
Which is doesn't sound very positive, but I just feel like sometimes I get overwhelmed with just like negative self-talk or negative talk about my life, or, kind of hopelessness sometimes. And I'm like, I feel like if I write it down, I might be able to somehow exorcise it from my brain.
Is that a technique?
I don't know.
I mean, is that something that people do?
Well, people write down their stream of consciousness as a way of just getting it on paper and getting it out.
Mm-hmm. But I mean, actively, deliberately, it being all negative, is that?
No, well, this isn't going to deliberately be all negative, but I just feel like I have been having a lot of negative thoughts, and it might help to write them down, along with the scattering of positive thoughts that I've been having. But the other thing that I'm going to try to do this year is go back to therapy. And I think I might actually try. I've always kind of been anti-online therapy, but I think actually since being here and when I went to see that therapist before I had Atlas, I think I need to see an Irish therapist. So I think I'm going to do online with an Irish person.
That's so interesting, because a friend of mine who's also allegedly going to see a therapist, like they claim that they're going to go and see one this year, and they've been having some troubles, etc., said that part of their challenge is because of where they live. It's not where they grew up, etc., and they're not familiar with the people there, and they don't kind of feel comfortable. They don't know anybody. They don't have a network, etc. And they said they're going to do it online, even though they also don't want to, because they want to do it back where they're from.
Yeah,
I thought that's interesting.
Yeah,
the two of you.
Because I just feel like like the therapist that I went to before I had Atlas was really nice, and I definitely felt like she was helpful. Like I went basically because I was worried that I was going to have postnatal depression, and I wanted, not knowing if mom and dad were going to be able to come over, and there were a lot of things that were worrying me that I wanted to sit down and kind of talk out. And she was very useful in the sense that she would go, okay, well, what kind of things can you put in place to help you if this happens, so that you feel like you have kind of like a little safety net if the worst case scenario does happen. What can you set up for yourself to help you, right? But she was also relentlessly positive in a very American way, and like when I would kind of say things even off the cuff, she'd be like, that's very negative or something. I'm like, no, it's not, it's just very Irish, you know what I mean?
Well, that's interesting because I went to, before I got my most recent job, they sent me, and like they send everybody else at a certain level to like psychographic and
testing or something.
testing, yeah, like psychographic, but also,
It's like aptitude.
I'm trying to think, like it's numerical, but also it's numerical aptitude, but also like, so I mean, there's a business part to it, but there's also a personality part to it, is what I'm trying to say, right? So sorry for like the lack of, again, terminology. And I went and I spent a full day. I thought I was going to be interviewed and all this kind of stuff, but I literally sat in a tiny closet room and I got all dressed up. I looked great, I'd like you to know. And I rocked up looking great. That I was locked in this tiny little room with the kind of closety room with a computer and a piece of paper and a pencil to do, to figure out maths or whatever. And actually it was kind of grand, maybe not knowing what it was, because I feel like had I known, I probably would have. And there are all these online trials, it's one of these things like the SATs or, like a leaving cert where it's, here are some mock papers. Like I just went in with absolutely zero kind of preparation or knowledge or
rehearsal.
Yeah, or fear probably as well, right? Which was good. And went through, it was a full day until 5 o'clock or something, finished it up. Then I think we did meet and kind of have a chat about like just a one-on-one, thanks very much for coming. Nothing in depth. And this individual who runs it, it is an executive professional coaching thing, but it's also like her whole background is psychology. She's a psychologist with like multiple degrees. Very interesting, actually. I mean, as everybody knows, would love to be a psychologist, right? Of myself, of agreeable, interesting people, and that's myself.
Like yourself.
Yes. No. I just more mean like, come to me. Imagine if you came to me with a real problem, I'd be like, oh God, I'm not qualified. Oh wait, I am. I'd be desperate.
No, you'd actually be like, that's not a real problem.
I don't know. It's a lot of responsibility.
Go on anyway.
Seriously. Anyway, and at the end, she's like, okay, so here are your results. Here are your, numerical reasoning. There's strategic versus tactical reasoning. And then she's like, and then, here are kind of your most highly indexing areas of kind of emotional reasoning, blah, 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 right? She goes, it's all very positive. Through it all, there's a very strong sense of self-effacement. I goes, so, that's something you should really keep an eye on. I was like, oh, I think that's very Irish. And she's like, no, and as a non-Irish person, like, she just did not get it. And like it could be true that there also is an element of that, but I think it's much stronger by dint of where you come from, what your background is. Like it is not acceptable in the same way.
Yeah.
Or certainly wasn't 20 years ago, right? To say like to be so I met with somebody the other day who's married to an Irishman. She is an executive coach, and she was like, she's like, you're going to need to get better at promoting yourself. She goes, you're not in Ireland anymore. And I'm like, I know, I haven't been for my entire career. She goes, yeah, but like it's hard. You can't knock that out of yourself, right? But I remember when I moved here as well, and everybody, the first thing they'd say was like, hi, I'm Bob. What do you do? And I see that now on TV shows, right? Like that it's a lot more common even in Ireland or England. What do you do?
Yeah.
But when I moved here, that was so weird for me. And I remember Julie and myself, we were like, this is weird. Like, why does it matter what we do?
Yeah.
And it was just a weird, like, here's what I do. And everybody kind of values themselves based on their job or their stature in the society versus like, here's who I am.
Yeah.
It's interesting. Anyway, that's good. So you're going to go back to therapy.
I'm going to go back to therapy. Oh yeah. The other thing is, I was thinking about this the other day I was thinking about how I was feeling towards the end of the year. And I think towards the end of the year, I start to feel a bit sad and I start to feel a bit like, oh, I didn't achieve this and I didn't achieve that. And I feel a bit like, even though a lot of things in my life are in a place where I'm really happy with them, like I'm really happy with my relationship and I'm really happy with my baby. And those are the things that should matter. On the other hand, I'm like, I feel like work-wise, I feel like a bit of a failure. Like I haven't achieved what I thought I would achieve or what I wanted to achieve. And I was imagining, right, if I was my own friend and I turned up or just like we met for coffee, right? And I was like, like, how are you feeling towards the end of the year? And my friend said to me, oh, I'm feeling like a failure and I'm feeling like I didn't do this and I didn't do this. I literally would be like, oh my God, don't be ridiculous. You did this and you did this and you're great and come in and have a cup of tea and I'll give you a hug. And I was like, I need to do more of that for myself. I need to make myself a cup of tea and give myself a hug. And you know what I mean? Kind of like not allow myself to kind of get down this spiral of like, this isn't the way I want it to be and this isn't, and I haven't done this and I haven't done that. And basically I need to be my own best friend in the way that I would if a friend of mine turned up at my door and was really upset and like, I just feel shit and I feel like, you know, nothing's going the way I wanted it to be, I'd be so nice to them, and I need to be nicer to myself. To that end, I'm giving up on plants because I feel like plants are a big area in my life that I feel like a failure. And I feel like, well, as I said to you the other day, right before I toppled my plant over on top of itself, I was like, I just keep killing the plants in my house and then I feel bad about it. And I look at them and they remind me of how I'm failing my plants. And I'm like, I'm not a plant, I'm giving up on the plants. I want to be a plant person. Maybe I'll buy some nice fake plants.
I think your plants look very nice.
Oh, no, because they're all crunchy. But remember that time you came over and you carefully, operation style, cut off all the brown bits off my plant?
Yeah.
And there were a lot of brown bits. No, it looks shit. And the edges of it are all curling.
Oh.
I know. They're all crispy. I just need to give up on the plants.
It's hard, but they're very nice and they make your house very soft.
I know, but that's why I feel like maybe I just need to invest in a few slightly expensive real looking fake plants.
I mean, I
hate fake plants.
Right? I hate them too. I liked my fake peonies for a little while. I only had them because, again, like you, it's like I had fresh flowers and the kids would knock them over or do whatever. I'm like, this isn't worth it, right? So, and Don claims to be allergic to them. I think he actually is, right, to the pollen. But anyway, so I got the fake peonies and they were great for a year or two and they were expensive. But now the like fake water is turning yellow.
Yeah, and they do get a bit dusty and then they're hard to clean, aren't they?
Once they have dust on them, I hate them, right? So that's the whole thing. Once they have dust on them, like I can't even pretend. You know, going back to something you said there about being being as nice to yourself as you would be to your friend, 100%, right? But like that's, of course, we all do that, right? We all are much more critical. Oh, you look desperate. Oh, look at the state in this dress. That's how me with the one arm, with the one shoulder top.
The one arm.
The one arm. Well, it was one arm top. The one arm man. Me with the one shoulder top, like, oh, it looks desperate. The chub under your armpit is
I'm
like
sure
atrocious.
It looked lovely.
I'm sure it did, right? But like, also, I'm not a size 8 or a size. You know what I mean? Not that everything is about being skinny, but like, I mean, I bought it based on a model who was a very full-figured model and looked great.
Yeah.
But I was more like, who do I think I am wearing this one-shoulder dress down to eat some
turkey?
I know.
I look at people the same size as me wearing the clothes I'd like to wear and I go, they look great. And then I try it on and I'm like, ugh.
I think it was more about the destination. I was like, who do I think I am going down to my 4 kids? Although I did go down, when I went, I'd still put on a dress and went down. And one of my kids goes, where are you going?
Just Bo?
Like, oh, no, Nash, where are you going? I'm like, nowhere. It's Christmas Day. I'm staying here with you. He's like, oh, you're just all dressed up. I'm like, I get fucking dressed up frequently.
Well, sorry. Anyway. Speaking of kids, Finn says to Brandon, so Finn walks into the room yesterday. Brandon and I are sitting at the table, turns to Brandon and he goes, what did Rosemary do to her hair? Right, I'm sitting across the table from him. Brandon goes, oh yeah, she got it done. And he goes, is her hair going to be like that forever? And Brandon goes, I don't know. And I said, well, yeah, like, you know, it's permanent, but, you know, I might change it. And I said, do you not like it? He goes, no.
Well, I mean, it's better. Remember the time I got the fringe from the same hairdresser, came in the back door, both the kids who opened the door just fell around the place laughing, right? And like they're 7 and 6, so it wasn't even, it was just like purely mom looks hysterical.
I mean, I think it would have been better if he laughed rather than like...
Oh, well then they all told me they didn't like it, so you're fine.
Mm.
So anyway, going back to your thing about being nice to yourself, I bought, so a friend / colleague of mine is moving on from this industry, right? Is like leaving his job and going to a different role. And I heard about on the Financial Times podcast Working It, which is actually really good. I like it. It's only about 18 minutes long, and I like they interview different people about work topics and just behavioral topics. Like there was work from home, there was what's the value of HR, like I think they have interesting topics. And then they did, Financial Times does a business book of the year award every year, obviously, and they're based, it's interesting because it's not so much like self-helpy business books, but more like very narrative books on the history of why things came to pass.
Yeah.
So I think the winner this year was something about like the history of the computer chip and the importance of the computer chip and how like everything now has a chip in it and how that came to pass, etc. The war of the computer chip. And they recommended a couple of additional books, and one of them was called Changing Gears. I can't remember the name of the author. And it was about when you move from retirement to, you know, your next adventure. And I remember Dad had a desperate time during retirement. Remember, he was a demon, which Mom now denies. He was an absolute demon. Even though he was looking forward to retiring, I think he missed, like it was such a
He found it hard, yeah.
He found the transition really hard. Anyway, I mean, this guy is not going to actually retire. I think he's going to go and do something else. But in that moment, like, how do you change? How do you adapt? How do you like navigate that? And this book, and I flicked through it and I'm like, maybe I'll buy myself a copy, because it was more about transitioning from one role to another. That's it. Yeah. Jan Hall and Jan Stokes. Is that
Jan
right?
Hall and
Jan
John
Hall.
Stokes.
Jan Hall and John
Yeah.
Stokes. And it's pretty, like, it's not a super big tome or anything. But when I read through a couple of parts of it, it was like, think about what, it's like a bit like what you're talking about. It was like, what really matters to you? What do you really value? Like, what makes you happy? And I was going, this could be a good exercise to do at any point in your life, not even your career, but in your life. Like, what do you want your next year to be like versus, a lot of things might stay the same. Because like in anybody's life, even if you retire, a lot of things still stay the same. Your life's, your partner is probably still the same. Your family's still the same. Your home may be the same.
Mm-hmm.
But you're changing.
Yeah.
So I thought I might give it a read. It seemed interesting and it seemed much more supportive, like much more kind of thought-provoking than I was expecting it to be. More like, be prepared for this, be prepared for that. It was more like, what do you want it to be?
Yeah. More contemplative.
Yeah.
What are your goals other than to get on the rower?
Oh, to sleep.
Oh, yeah.
To get more balance in my life.
What are you going to do? Like, do you have any things in mind for helping your sleep?
Probably less alcohol, less glasses of wine at night. No, probably just a bit more, like less cups of coffee and tea, after 6 o'clock or after 4 o'clock. Just, baths, making time for kind of things that relax me at the end of the day. Like I said, no TV in bed. That's another one.
Yeah.
I'm going to get that lamp. I'm going to read my book. I'm going to journal, get those thoughts out of my head. I think very often I wake up in the middle of the night with my mind racing.
Yeah.
And I do find it helpful when I sit up and actually write them down and get them out of my head. Because otherwise I lie in bed thinking, like, I draft long emails, I do all these things that if I just sat up and did them, like, it's annoying and it's, disruptive, but it's also 15 minutes and then I can go back to sleep. Versus otherwise I lie awake for 3 hours.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Not writing it down, but still thinking about it. Yeah. I had a dream the other night that Brandon's dad set up a not-for-profit doggy daycare to facilitate people who would like to foster dogs but can't because they have full-time jobs. And then I was like, you need to do this. The other day I was like, I'll help you. When you retire, you need to set up a not-for-profit doggy daycare, like in association with Humane Fort Wayne or with Fort Wayne Animal Care and Control or whatever. And I was like, because I'm sure, like, they're always looking for people to foster dogs, but I'm sure loads of people can't foster puppies because they have full-time jobs. I'm like, then if you could then be the person minding the dogs during the day, and then they could foster them.
Is there no doggy daycare in Fort Wayne?
There are doggy daycares, but there aren't any that are free. So I'm like, for people who couldn't afford doggy day, you know what I mean? For people who want to foster dogs to help out the shelters, but can't because they have full-time jobs, then they could do it if they had somewhere to send the dogs during the day.
And how do you make money doing this? Not, I mean, like, how do you keep it running? I don't mean, I heard the not-for-profit part.
Well, I mean, obviously you just try and get funding. Or I was thinking you could do it half not-for-profit and half paid. So for every daycare space you offer, maybe it's slightly more expensive, but you know that, like, the people who are sending their dogs there are helping to support another dog. Oh. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I was like, something like that, because he loves dogs.
Yeah.
And then he was like, I like that idea, because he's such a deep voice. I like that idea. It sounds better than my current job. Oh, kind of thing.
I like the fact that you're dreaming about somebody else's career and worrying about your own in your waking hours.
Yeah, I have no good ideas for myself.
I had a great idea for us. Oh, I'll tell you what mine is. We're going to write a book.
Well, this is now very upsetting to me because I promised you several weeks ago that I would write your book.
Yeah.
But I meant your business book.
You are going to write that for me.
I'm not writing 2 books for you.
Yes, you absolutely are.
Oh my God. And then anyway, so I was like, I will write your book for you. And I meant, like, like how I got to where I am, business, the business of fashion, being like a woman in the business world, blah, blah, blah. And then she comes back to me the next day and she's like, I had a great idea for a fiction book. It's going to be about this.
No. I had a dream.
Oh, yeah,
I had a full dream about what this book was going to be. And it was, I literally woke up and went, finally, a full, excellent dream that makes sense when I'm awake and is a brilliant idea. And we're going to write it. And I said we'd get the first draft done by March. And actually, I was thinking that tonight we do a couple of brainstorming sessions on it. Tonight. January 1st.
I'll be on my Peloton.
After that. When you're relaxing, you can just be on the phone.
That doesn't sound relaxing.
Yes, it's going to be great. We are going to have a ball.
You know what I wish? I would love to have lived in the day when journalists, like, called up and had a copywriter to write down their pieces for them. Do you know what I mean? They just, like, recounted them on the phone.
You've got a computer to do that. I literally told you should dictate to your computer.
I don't like that. I don't know why.
What difference does it make? Do you need somebody there to, like, validate you?
Yes, and I need somebody to go, do you mean that? And I'll be like, no.
I will happily do that.
Oh, God. No, I need somebody else.
I'll edit it for you.
Somebody else. Well, I think we've really covered everything. You know what, though? What I want people to take from this episode is Beatrice fancies herself as the world's best psychotherapist slash
No.
writer, consultant slash...
Absolutely not.
No, I'm only joking.
Absolutely. You know what I was thinking, though? I also do want to make sure that I spend a little bit more time this year with each of my kids individually. Because
It's
they're
hard,
all
isn't
getting
it?
they're all getting to an age, though, where they need very different things. They're at different ages, and and they appreciate that time so much. But I will not make the mistake of proclaiming it out loud.
Oh,
because
no.
then it became like an absolute torture. So I started this in like November.
Becomes a
saying we'll have
noose then.
Yeah, I was like, we'll have a date, so coffee out with mom, whatever. And then it was like, when's my turn? When's my turn?
Yeah.
You had 3 hours and I only had 2. You got a coffee board for you and I got nothing. I was
Oh,
like,
my God. I
God.
bought a Frappuccino for Finn one day because I went to pick up the groceries or something and he said he'd come with me. So on the way back, I got him a Frappuccino. Well, if this Frappuccino was not being held over me by William for the rest of my life.
Yeah. Well, also, like, listen, they can't lie and they can't keep secrets. I go, do not tell your brother you had a McDonald's.
Oh,
Do
my
not.
God. But also, anytime I say that like they think they seem to think of it as a challenge. I'm like, listen, don't mention that to William. They come in, William, I had a Frappuccino. And then they look at me like, I'm like, I'm going to murder you.
You're like, that's it, last Frappuccino you'll ever have.
Anyway, yeah, I think in 2023, we should all think of ourselves as friends who show up on our door and think, how would we treat that friend? Extend a hand, make a cup of tea, give them a hug. That's what I'm trying to do to myself. You know what I mean? Be kinder, be more loving, make myself more cups of tea.
And how can we be kinder to the people that we live with and the people that we love? Genuinely. I mean, I actually think that friend on the doorstep should probably tell me sometimes you're being a bit mean right now.
I'll happily do that for you.
You don't, though.
But
You don't. You let it build up and then you tell me when you're really pissed off. And then it's too late. So, like, I just need that person to go, hey, you could be a little bit nicer to Dawn. Don't worry about Rosemary. She's fine. She can take it.
Happy New Year. Thank you all so much for joining us on another year of Not Without My Sister.
Oh, thanks a lot.
What is this?
Who'd have thunk it?
Our 4th year of Not Without My Sister.
What?
We started it in 2020. That was year 1. 2021 was year 2. 2022 was year 3. And this is year 4.
This is 2023, Rosemary.
Yes, it is year 4. We started in 0. That was 1. 2021 was year 2.
I don't think we started in 2021. We started.
No, we started during the pandemic. I mean, I think it was like August of 2020.
Stop
wasn't it?
pointing at me.
What?
Stop pointing at me.
I'm not.
So we've done 2.5 years then, not 4 years. That's correct.
No.
Yeah. End of 2020, 2021, 2022. Now we're in 2023.
Yeah, why did you put your finger back down? So 2023 will be our 4th, like August of 2023 will begin our 4th year of Not Without My Sister.
Yeah, but we're now in January. So I'm saying we're 2 and 3 months, in 2 years and 3
Oh,
months
fine.
into this, right? Like, we haven't even done 3 years yet.
Thank you for joining us
Thanks
for
for
another year of
Yeah.
Not Without My Sister.
For our third
Everybody
year.
needs a sister like
In our
Beatrice
third year.
to just correct your every single
Everybody
thing
needs
you
a
say.
sister like Rosemary who exaggerates every single compliment that you have. Listen, that's actually great. You should do that for yourself.
I accept. What?
Like we've done 2.5.
Oh.
We haven't even done 2.5 years of our podcast, and you're like, we're on year 4. You should do that for everything. And now you're saying you're too modest about yourself. You need
I
to do that.
never said goodbye. Goodbye. Thank you for listening.
Happy New Year.
Oh, Happy New Year. On our Patreon, we're going to be talking about Nepo babies, nepotism, and how it makes the Irish business world go round. Join us on patreon.com/notwithoutmysister for, I think it's $5, $6 a month, $5 a month. And you will not regret it. You'll get an extra episode each every week and you'll get to support the podcast. Bye.
Bye.
Not Without My Sister is produced by Liam Garrity, sound and original music by Don Kirkland, and our original illustration is by Lindsay Nielsen.
Oh, God.
Back in, quick!
Her.ie says Petrified captures listeners' attention from the get-go,
It won't open.
reeling them in for a deeply unsettling ride before delivering on some serious scares.
When you call the dead back, they are angry, and they are lost, and they are hungry.
Petrified, the award-winning horror drama returns with a cast including Cecil Baldwin and Larry Fessenden.
Is that Robert? I smelled death. The stench of rot.
Petrified, an all-new season of Tales from a Darker Ireland begins January 11th wherever you listen to podcasts.
What am I doing? Just let's end this.